Good day. Thanks for joining our presentation. My name is Az, and I work in commercial software engineering team at Microsoft. I have more than 10 years experience in developing software. I'm co-organizer of Girls Geek Sydney and Girls.net. And this is David.
Hey. So I'm also in commercial software engineering at Microsoft Australia. Azadeh and I are both in the same team. So today what we want to talk about is how easier AI can allow anyone to build smart applications. So far at NDC, we've seen a number of AI-based sessions. We've had Barbara. Barbara talked about TensorFlow and showed how you can go and build deep machine learning models with TensorFlow. That went way over my head. That's way too deep for me. Then there was a session by Tess. And Tess did a great session for an intro machine learning for a software developer, and I was able to pick up a lot of things from there. I picked up a lot more about what regression tests, linear regressions are, all of that. And then this morning, the keynote, we had Scott Guthrie talked a little bit about Microsoft's AI, cognitive services, things like that. And so our session today, we wanted to show that there is a whole landscape in AI, but we want to show that you can go and just use some of these services straight away without having to know too much about what's happening under the covers. So our session goals for today is we just want to show that it's super easy to add machine intelligence to your apps straight away. And we want to show some examples that we built and explain the architecture that we use to build these little applications. And so our agenda for today, we're going to start off by looking at the continuum of AI services that are available to put some perspective on which bit we're going to be focusing in on. We're going to be focusing on the Azure Cognitive Services, just on this piece for the entire session, which is what Scott talked about this morning. And then we're going to go and show some applications that we built and walk you through the architecture of them. Now, we've got an entire spectrum of different things, which can be split up into three broad categories. We've got the AI services, AI tools, and AI infrastructure. So yesterday, when Barbara was talking about TensorFlow, that's for people who have some type of idea of how machine learning works. They know that they want to build up their layers, the TensorFlow models. So all those tools are great for people who know how to do machine learning. That's not me. We've also got AI infrastructure, and this is so these are the tools that you can build higher level constructs. Down here is more of the lower level building blocks. So we've got places where you can store all of that raw data, either in databases and data warehouses. We've also got the really low level compute services such as Apache Spark, Batch AI service, the new IoT Edge, where you can run AI at the edge, and Azure Container Services, where you can take any machine learning module, throw it into a Docker container, then throw it up to be scaled up massively. Now, and all of these can be run on either CPUs, GPUs, or field programmable gate arrays. So we've got a bunch of articles showing how you can go and accelerate your machine learning with our virtual machines which have GPUs baked into them. But we've also got field programmable gate arrays, which are in preview at the moment, which will allow you to massively accelerate the training of your AI models. Now, again, these ones are great for people who know what they're doing. For me, I focus on this area because I don't know how to create my own models. And so what Microsoft have done is, with these AI services, we're trying to democratize the use of AI to every developer. So what they've done is they've taken some machine learning modules that they've created, they've gone and pre-packaged them up, and they're giving them out as a service. So with a single API call, you can go and call into these. Now, the way that they've been split up, you can kind of think about it in the same way that a human will try to understand the world themselves. So a human, like me, if I'm here trying to figure out what's happening here in this room, I'm going to be doing things roughly with vision to try to see and make sense of what's happening here in the room. With speech, so that's what I'm doing right now, but you guys are having to try to understand my speech. We've got language, knowledge, search. So I'll dive into each of these a little bit more. So the vision services, again, is about trying to have a computer make sense of what's happening in either a picture or a video feed. And you go through show off some of these this morning. The idea, these really quickly are things, so computer vision, making sense of what's in an image, face and emotion APIs to single out people's faces and see their age, gender, and emotion. We've got speech. So whereas vision was taking in an image, speech is taking in an audio stream. And with this audio stream, it's used to try and figure out who is saying something and what they're saying, and converting it all into text. Once we have some text, we can go and look at the language services. And these language services are taking in text either from that speech service or taking it in from a chatbot. And so a lot of the hacks that Az and I work on with customers where we're building chatbots, we use a lot of these services to try and understand what a customer's saying, typing in. So we've got Lewis, which is trying to derive an intent from what the user has said. They say, can I please book a flight? We try and figure out that their intent is to book a flight. We've got text analytics to try and get sentiment out, text translation to translate between languages, etc. So the first three were trying to make sense of what's currently in the world or try to understand what people are trying to talk to you about. The next category, knowledge, is all around trying to draw on your wealth of knowledge to go and answer a query or question that someone has asked you. So we've got Q&A Maker, which is kind of like a giant FAQ database. You can throw in all your questions and answers, and then you can just attach a chatbot to it. That way, you don't have to have the exact question that the person will ask, but we use a whole bunch of fuzzy matching and train up our models so that we can try to understand what a user is querying and asking and bring them back the correct answers. We've got Recommendations API, which is just like with Netflix. We've seen that you've watched these type of movies, so you'll probably enjoy this type of movie as well. So Tess gave a great example yesterday of clustering. So zombie movies, people who like zombie movies will probably like these movies. People who like Brad Pitt movies probably like these Brad Pitt movies. And there's be some people who, because they like both of them, will like, what was it, World War Z, but had Brad Pitt in zombie movies. And we've also got intelligent search. Intelligent search, where we help people be able to search and find things better, either through images, web searches, custom entity searches. So being able to do intelligent fuzzy matching to try and help users search. Now, what Az and I wanted to do next is we just tried to give you a whirlwind overview of what type of cognitive services are available. And as we said, they're in 5 broad categories with lots of services under each one of them. What we wanted to do is just show how to use one of them from first principles just to set the scene and level set. And then all of our demos from that, we just assume that you know how to do that first bit. So what I'm going to do is jump online. Now, the scenario I want to do for this one, photos, tacos. So my team down in Melbourne, just as a team bonding exercise, because we're never in the office together, we've set up a thing so every Tuesday we go down and get cheap tacos for Taco Tuesday. We took this selfie, and although I'm pretty sure we're all enjoying tacos, I want to make sure that they're not faking it. So I want to try and use some emotion analysis to figure out if they're all truly enjoying their tacos. So the first step I would do, I would jump up onto the Azure Cognitive Services website, and you can see all the different categories there that I was just talking about. If we jump into the vision APIs, the one that we want to use is the emotion API. So we can click on it, and we can see all of that you can just, we've got a demo app here that you can just do it live on the website just to try it out and see how it works. But we're devs, so we actually want to dive in. So we can go into the API. Now, all of these cognitive services are all just a simple REST service. So again, going back to, we want to make it super easy for you guys to be able to just take these services and just drop them into your application. They're thereby arrest. So we can see all we need to do is just do a single post to that URL, pass in your subscription key, pass in the image. That's it. Now, that's okay, but what we need here is a subscription key. We've got two ways of doing it. That one. So for the bulk of these services, we've got free keys that you can use. So if you jump onto Azure/Try Cognitive Services, you can go and select any of them and go and get an API key. And you can see we're really generous with them. You can do 20 calls per minute for 30,000 transactions. So that's one way of doing it. Another way is if we jump up into the Azure portal. So again, I only want to show this once to level set to make sure for those people who haven't seen the Azure portal. So if we log onto the Azure portal, we can click Create, scroll down to AI and Cognitive Services. We'll go and have a look at all of them. So you can see we've got all of the other things up here that I showed on that big slide. We've got Azure Machine Learning Labs, bot services. The ones we care about are the cognitive services. And you can see we've got all of them available here. So you select one, Emotion API, accept the legal notices. Give it a name, NDC, London, Emotion 2. And here you go. So we've got the pricing. So we've already used our free one in our subscription. So which you can see, the free one gives you 30,000 calls a month, or for a couple of cents. Here we go. It's what, 13 cents for every 1,000 calls that you do to the service. So we'll just select that one, create a new one, NDC London. I have read that. And click Create. So for each of the services that you use, you're going to go and have to create an API key so that you can go and call them. That's just so that we can charge you. But one good tip that Azadeh just showed me was what she did. She went through, oh, wrong one, free. She actually went through each of the services and created each one of them, setting them to the free tier. So whenever she needs to, she can go in here, click on one, and grab out the keys that she needs. So whenever she's playing around, doing her demos, doing her sample code, she just jumps back into here. She reuses these keys up until a customer requires their own key and they need to do more than 20 calls a minute, and they go and then just pay for the 13 cents per 1,000 calls for the Emotion API. So if we look back up here, we can see that I provisioned my key. I can go to it. Straight away, it shows you all of the links, so how you can go in, find more documentation, look at the APIs. But what we care about is we click Overview, we can see the endpoint URL and the keys. So if I copy that key, we're going to use Postman. So quick show of hands, how many people here are currently using Postman? Awesome, like 90%. So all we're going to do, so I've pre-pasted that URL in there. We go to headers, subscription key, paste in my new key, paste. Where are we? Body, binary, Taco Tuesday, hit send. That's it. So again, REST call. We pass in the URL, pass in our subscription key, pass in the binary, click send, boom. Now let's have a look at this. In the photo, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 faces. If we have a look through here, we can see we've got the first face. So it gives us the coordinates for the face. So you know a square of where the face was. So we pass back where the face was and all the details about how they were feeling. So we've got, here we go, the first person 99.9% happy. That's what we'd expect. Second person, 99.5% happy. Third person is 99.9999. And this one is only 97%. So we're going to have to force feed that guy a few more tacos to bump up his happiness by like 3 more %. But that's what we quickly want to show. So again, the point of that demo was to very quickly show you with a single REST call, we could go and get some analytics out of an image straight away. And I just, again, wanted to level set to show how to get a subscription key and how to call it raw in Postman. Now, what I'm going to do is pass it over to Az, and she's going to demo a few of the other services.
Yeah, I'm going to show you two.
Can I first ask a question?
Please.
What's the difference between the face API and the emotion API? Because you get almost the same results.
Sure. So the question was, what's the difference between the face API and the emotion API? The face API will give you the faces and try to give you some demographics about that person, so age, gender. The emotion API is more around.
Sorry, and the face API, it returns back the location of your, for example, your eyes, your lips. So if you want to do more analytics, so for example, if you use it in Unity, you can use and upload the photo of the person, and you can know the location of lips if you want to do more thing, for example. All right, so I'm going to show you two more APIs that I'm really excited about it. And you might say, oh, that's boring, but I'm excited about it. One is describing the image. So imagine that you have an image that you can give it to the computer, and computer can describe what it sees in the image. And why do you think it's important? How many of you have built a website? Website? Almost everyone. And we know that how important it is. In an image tag, we have alt text. We know that it's important for text readers that we have alt text. Everyone knows it. Content editors that are using CMS, they know about it. Everyone knows it. But I saw so many shocking websites that it passed the accessibility test, but the alt text is image 1. This is an image. This is shocking. And we're going to solve this problem easily by using one of the cognitive services. So if I go and, for example, select this image. Hang on, I want to open this image. This is my dog, Cookie. I really like Cookie, and Cookie has an Instagram account, and surprise, surprise, he has more followers on Instagram than me on Twitter. I don't know why. But anyway, so this is my dog. So if I go and select my dog on Caption API, so it's a custom vision API, and it uses describe, and it says, okay, the maximum candidate. So give me 2 different descriptions of the photo. So Dave showed us how we can add the subscription key. So I skip that, and I go and select my son's photo here, and I send. And what do you think it would say? This is a photo of dog, or suspense, a dog wearing a costume, a brown and white dog wearing a costume. So you can see that how accurate it is. It's very awesome. So you can use it. So I gave you an idea for the plugin that you can add to Sidecar, Umbraco, WordPress, or whatever CMS that you are using. You can write a plugin that automatically suggests the alt text for your media library. And this is not only the API, we are using it internally. So if I go to Photoshop, PowerPoint, and if I go here, and if I insert image, photo album, no, it's a picture. And if I go and select desktop, photos, and I'm going to select one of the common bears that you can see in Australia. Oh, now I'm going to select, this is the mascot of Australia.net website. So let's see what PowerPoint adds it. So if I select a photo, you can see it automatically adds the description for the photo. A kangaroo is standing in front of the body of water. So we are using the custom vision APIs internally in our products. So you can be confident when you use these products that these products are tested. We are using it internally. And also, another API, custom vision API, it analyzes the photo and it gives you the location of the main object, and it can give you the design idea. So it gives you the, okay, what's the dominant color of the photo, and you can see that it provides some design idea that you can use in your Photoshop. So if you don't have design taste, there's no excuse now. You can have a better slides. All right, so let's go back to our demonstration. Another thing that I like to show is how many of you use search or indexing stuff, like Elastic, Lucene. So you know that searching is really, so searching text is easy. What about searching images? You know, you rely on user to provide some information about the image. But what if you could kind of like analyze the image and see that what exactly it's in an image, not the description, tags. So here, you can use analyze, and you can use visual feature, tags, and categories. And this, if I select another photo, so I am going to select my favorite bird, and I send it. So it categorizes animal, bird. So you can see the taxonomy in the documentation, that's how it does the taxonomy. And it returns back tags. So it returns back, it's sea, grass, confidence, highly confident. It knows it's outdoor, it knows it's animal, it knows it's bird, and it's on a field. So you can see that it returns the confidence level and the name of the tag. This API can understand around 2,000 different objects. So you can see that how you can analyze your photo and use it for your indexing. So in your search, when you have search functionality that users search for the image, search for something, so not only you can search the text, you can also return back some images based on what's on the image.
I have a question of it. Just if I wanted to know, for example, I've got an image and it's a blonde lady, would it say in this tag bar, or should I use face API in this case?
Good question. I don't know. You have to test. Yeah. Yeah. So probably it returns. So you have to read the documentation about the taxonomy and tags, and you can look into that what it returns. But I'm confident that it returns, but I haven't tested it. You have to test it. Another thing that I like to show is if I go to the caption vision, and I choose the bear photo again, and I send, it only says a bird standing on top of the grass covered field, but it doesn't say what type of bird. So later Dave and I, we are going to show you how you can be more specific, what type of bird. Is it a parrot or is it something else? So you can be more specific about it. How many of you have been in Keynote? Everyone? All right. So I'm going quickly to show you about the sentiment. So you saw that how Scott showed you how you can use sentiment analysis to analyze tweets. So you can use sentiment analysis to analyze reviews. So I realized that when you have app or when you have some sort of providing the feedback or testimonial on a product, some people, and then you provide, most of the time you provide to select between 1 to 5 and the description. Some people, although they provide a positive sentiment, they choose 1. Have you read about it? Did you know about it? Because they want to make sure that when you provide 1 and it's very terrible, people read that description because they want to know why it's bad, but they write a good stuff about that product or that hotel review. So if you only want to show sorts the products based on the review, sometimes it's not fair. So I thought that it's a good idea to show you that how you can use and solve this problem. So you can use sentiment analysis to analyze the text if it's a positive or it's negative. And what it returns a number between 0 to 1. If it's terrible, it returns close to 0. If it's very good, it returns close to 1. And also, it can analyze a sentiment in different languages. Because sometimes, so in past, we have to translate from English. So if the text is in, for example, in Chinese, you had to translate it in English and take the and get the sentiment based on the English. But sometimes the sentiment might lost in the translation. So it's good to get the sentiment based on the language. And you can do the bulk sentiment, so you can provide multiple sentences. So in the sample I have one text is that I had a wonderful experience, the room were wonderful, and the staff was helpful. So, and we know it's positive. And then I have the Chinese equivalent of same sentiments, and I have one sentiment in Farsi, and let's see how it goes. So if I hit send, so it returns back the result quickly. So we know that the first one was good. The second one was, I had a terrible time at the hotel, the staff was rude, and the food was awful. I'm sorry for that guy. But anyway, so you can see that this is really terrible sentiment, and exactly the same. So the Chinese version, exactly the same thing. And then you can see that it returns error for the fifth one, because our service doesn't support Farsi, and returns back, oh, we only support these 18 languages, so you can use these 18 languages. Or you can translate it to English and get the sentiment based on that. All right, I'm handing over to Dave.
Cool.
So that API does analyze only if the sentence is positive, or you can just ask also tell me if the sentence is negative.
It returns back the score. So it returns back a score between 0 to 1. So if the score is close to 1, it means that it's a positive. If it's yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it means that once one is always positive. I mean, you can't say, please let me know if it is negative, so one will be negative.
No, it's, so the people can't hear. The question was that the sentence that's coming in, are you only able to see if it's positive or not? No, so we go and rate the text that comes in on a scale. 0 is very negative, 1 is very positive, 0.5 is neutral. And so with the score that comes back, it's on that scale.
All right.
Okay, now what we've shown so far were the raw cognitive services and how you can use REST to go and call them just very directly. And as showed briefly how we are using it within our own products at Microsoft inside of PowerPoint for alt text and AI slide design suggestions. We also use it in PowerPoint for live translation. Now, the problem is you're probably laughing at how bad the text captioning is at the moment. It's because the microphone is all the way over here on this laptop, and because I'm too far away, the microphone's not picking it up. It's so good. But one cool thing about this is there's a URL here, translate.it/ and then there's the session code. So what we do at some other, when we present overseas in other countries, if you bring that up, it will go and do live translation into a bunch of different languages. So I can be speaking English. I've done it in China a couple of times. Be speaking English, and all the attendees can have the app open and they're reading the live translation in Chinese. Again, we just have to get a Bluetooth microphone for next time for this one. Now that we've shown how all of them are used, what we're going to show now is 2 applications where we've gone and taken those individual cognitive services and then mashed them together to create some sample applications. The first one we've built is called Menu Explorer. Now, Az and I go and travel around a lot, and when we travel, we like to go and try the local cuisine. We like to be adventurous, try some of the local places. Something that happens a lot, though, is we'll be looking at the menu, so even if it's somewhere here in England, for example, I look at the menu and I don't know what a local dish is, like a Yorkshire pudding. Don't know what that is. And so we wanted to build a service so that when you're traveling around, you can look at a menu and try and figure out what is on the local menu. So keeping with the whole We're from Australia theme, there's a famous restaurant in Sydney, which is there overlooking the Sydney Opera House. And they've got really fancy Mod Oz cuisine. It's so fancy that I don't know what some of the dishes are in there. So we thought we'd start there by analysing one of these Mod Oz menus. So we created an application called Menu Explorer. If I hit browse, go to the desktop, we bring up the menu. So we're using a number of different services here. The first one we're using is OCR. So it's going to, once the conference Wi-Fi picks up, we're going to go through, it's going to detect all of the text that's on the menu, and then we can go and try and figure out what we want to figure out. Now, it all looks fancy. We've got southern squid, because it's different from northern squid. But we've also got a bunch of desserts, and I have no idea what a snow egg is. So what we've done is you can click on it. It goes and it knows, so again we're using OCR to detect where all the text is, clicking on it to pull it out, and then we're using the cognitive service for the image search to go and bring back examples of what a snow egg is. So that's pretty cool. I'm looking at the menu and now I don't have to try and be embarrassed by asking the waiter at this fancy restaurant what is a snow egg. Another one is, so we've got this one, OCA, I don't even know how to pronounce that. And I click on it and it's bringing back pictures of like goose and some veggie. So what we've done is, if the first couple of images don't bring back what you'd expect, you can just click on the text and we'll go and launch both a Bing and a Bing image search and a Google image search to try and give you a bit more of an idea. So looking at Bing, it looks like a type of vegetable, and Google image search thinks it's a goose. But I get an idea that it is probably a type of vegetable. So again, I don't have to embarrass myself. Okay, now that's nice and easy. We're just doing simple OCR with image to text, and we're doing an image search. So that's 2 services so far. So we want to throw in a third one. Now, when we travel to an English-speaking country, this is okay. But because we're in Asia Pacific, we travel to a lot of Asian countries like China, Japan, Korea, etc., where we can't even begin to understand these menus. So if we click Browse, I can go and I can load up a Chinese menu. We'll give that a few seconds for the conference Wi-Fi to pick up. But it'll do the same thing. It'll go through, it'll go and do OCR, but we support OCR in multiple different written languages. We do it on printed font text. We also support it on handwritten text. So if you have a bunch of notes from someone who's taken conference notes, you can do OCR over that as well. Now, we've gone through, we've figured out all this, and I have no idea. Now, if I click on one of these, click, scroll down, we do the literal text translation, fish head with chopped chili peppers, but we've got images that come through. Now, one important thing that we're doing here is we are doing the English translation to try to give you an idea of what the dish is, but a lot of dishes, a literal translation will not work at all. So what we're doing is we're doing an image search based off the original text. And this was something that whenever I was overseas I could never do. Because I don't know how to type in these characters, I wouldn't be able to go and do a search for what is this dish. So we can click on some other random ones, radium eggplant, we've got this one, sesame taro. So if I just saw that literal translation, sesame taro, I wouldn't know what it is. But looking at these images, I go, oh yes, I know that dessert. So it's actually my wife's favourite dessert over in China. So we know what that is. So we thought that this was an important demo to show that this was just 3 REST service calls. By embedding it into your own application, you can go and unlock things really, really simple. And to show how this was built, I'm going to hand over to Az, who's going to deep dive into the architecture.
Thanks, David. So the source code of the Menu Explorer, it's available on GitHub. You can have a look and play with it. As you can see, it contains 2 projects. You want to take photo of the... don't worry. Okay. We share the link later after the presentation. So as you can see, it contains 2 projects. The first project is a client-side project. It's a basic Node.js web application. It contains JavaScript, jQuery, and HTML5. And the backend part is Azure Function, and it contains 3 functions. For those who are not familiar with Azure Function. Azure Function is Microsoft serverless offering, and what it's really good about Azure Function or any serverless is you care about the function that you care most. All right, it's wrong in English, but anyway, you get it. So you write a function, and you define what event runs that function, and you set. So you don't need to worry about infrastructure, scaling, or you don't need to worry about the whole web project to write it. You only focus on your function. Here I have 3 functions, and they are all HTTP trigger. It means that if any HTTP calls raise, it runs that function. So the OCR one, it gets so user uploads the photo. The Menu Explorer client application handles all of the user interaction, gets the photo, sends it to the OCR Azure function. OCR Azure function sends it to the computer vision API. Computer vision API analyzes the text, the image, extracts the text and the location of the text, and also it returns back the language of the text. If it's not in English, we call the translate function, and the translate function translates the text into the English. And if you want to know more about the menu item, we call Bing image search, and we return back top 6 relevant image. The reason I use Azure function because I wanted to protect my subscription key. You might say, oh, you could have called it's an API. I could have called it here in Menu Explorer. Yeah, you could, but you kind of expose your subscription key. And I didn't want to do that. In the next demo, I show you that how you can use and call the API directly in the app if you like. So if I go and deep dive to the code, so the client side bit, there is nothing very interesting happen about it. It's one single HTML page. I only reference jQuery, JavaScript, Bootstrap. And the reason that I didn't use any JavaScript framework because I wanted to make sure anyone with any skill set can understand and use the code. And the whole thing, it happens in Analyze Image. So in Analyze Image, when user uploads the photo, I call OCR function. And as you can see in OCR, calling the Azure function HTTP trigger, it's exactly same as calling normal API. There's no difference. So it's normal post code, normal post call. And if you can see that, so I have my URL here. What I'm really excited about Azure function is you can run and debug them locally. So you can see that I hooked my local environment to use my local Azure function. So if I call it, if I run it, I can npm start, and if I go to my Azure function app, so you can see I have 3 different functions, and they all do same. So what I really like, another thing I like about cognitive services is they are consistent. So there are different teams, but they are exactly doing the same thing. So you need only to have a path, and you need to have a key. So that's all you need to do. So this is my search function, my OCR function. So I put a breakpoint so you can see how easy it is to call it. But as you can see, it gets the path, and I add subscription to header, and that's it. The only difference is in translation API, that I call the API and I get it, but it doesn't return JSON and it returns XML. So the extra step that I do, I parse the XML and return back the JSON. So if I run the Azure function application, so nice logo, and as you can see, I will have 3 endpoints for each of my HTTP trigger functions. So if I run my Menu Explorer locally, and if I load any photo, any menu photo, and boom, stopped here. And I have all of the debugger functionality that Visual Studio provides for normal C# code. There's no difference. It's very powerful. So you can debug it, you can step through, you can look there. And you can see, and in the background, oh, yeah, so that was too quick. So in the background, it calls the translator API, and then it shows, I dumped all of the English menu here, so if you get dizzy for seeing the different language, so you can see the English bit here. Hand it over to David.
Now, one of the beginning demos, when Az was showing cognitive services, she uploaded a photo of an Australian native bird. And as she explained, it only came back with, it's a bird. Now, that's okay, but what we wanted to do is show that you can use the Cognitive Services Vision API to go and get generic information back, so such as it's a bird. But we want to show that there's another service that you can use, custom vision service, where if you have a domain-specific set of images that you want to identify, such as a bunch of different birds, how you'd go about that. So we built another demo for this. Let's go. Oop, it's down there. I was going to try and keep the bird in the background. Okay, now what we decided to do was we wanted to show that it's really easy to use these services and consume them in anything. So the first demo that we showed was how to do it on a website. And just to show that it's the same everywhere, we decided to do this next demo in Ionic. So we've built an Android application which is using Ionic, which is going to call one of these cognitive services. I go, select an image, pick one of these birds, it's going to come back, and it's going to come back and say with 100% confidence that it's a rainbow lorikeet, which it is. And we can go through and select a few of these other images. So we've got a sulfur-crested cockatoo. That one's a little bit lower. We can try this, and we can see that it's a galah. Now, I want to show some of the basics of how this technology works, and then I'll hand it over to Az afterwards to show the architecture of how she built this Ionic application. So if we jump back onto the web, we'll go back to Cognitive Services. So we're going to go into Vision, and we can see that there's one down here, Custom Vision Service. So the point of Custom Vision Service is to go and train it up again on your own domain-specific area of images and get it to understand your subset of what you care about. So if we go over to here, so if you log into customvision.ai, you've got all of your custom vision projects. So we could create a new one, but here's BirdLife, the one that we created before. If we load it up, so the whole way you use custom vision is you click add images, we'll see that in a second, and you add some tags. So we've gone through, we've uploaded 1,000 images of 38 different Australian native birds. If we look through, we can see we've got some galah photos. And so the exact one that I just uploaded, we didn't use for the training data. Now, when you're here, you can click train, etc. But I want to test another bird. So if I go browse, go back, we've got an ibis. Now, if you can see the name of the file, it's called Binchuk. So in Australia, we've got this bird called the ibis. Now, one thing, unfortunately, with the ibis is we've been, in Australia, a lot of the places where they would normally live, we've been building houses and things like that. And so they've been forced to live in more of the urban areas, and they just go and rummage around in our bins and go and eat everything out of it. And so locally, we just call them bin chickens. Now, let's go and see if Cognitive Services has any idea what a bin chicken is. So they come back and it has absolutely no idea what a bin chicken is. But we can fix that. So to show you how we would add another one in here, we could click Add Images, click Browse. I'll select all of them except for the one that I want to test. Call an IBIS, add the tag. So you could add multiple tags in here if it's more than one thing. Hit Upload. We just wait a second. That was quick. We hit Train. It's then going to go off and train up that model based on those 1,008 images, because we just uploaded 8 more. Just take a few moments to do that. And then what we're going to do is, based on the new model that it trains up, we're going to just quick test it again and see if it detected it. There we go. You can get the stats for each of the birds. Quick test. Upload my bin chicken again. Whoa, something has gone wrong. Demo. But normally we would see that the probability has gone up. But later on, as we'll show how if you were to train something like that, so I only uploaded 8 images, as we'll show you later how we could go and improve the probability detection of it. So I'll pass it over to Az, who show the architecture.
Thank you. So it's a very basic app that I wrote it in Ionic. I wanted to be adventurous and learn new stuff, so that's why I chose Ionic. Where is my? So the architecture, very basic. I have one Ionic application, and I use directly custom vision and REST API in it. So if I want to show you the code, so here is my Ionic application, in source, in home page, I have classify method, and here I call, it's very basic, it's only calling the HTTP post. I add the prediction key in the header, and I call the method. That's it, and I show in a home page, I show top 5 prediction. So you can see here. I show top 5 prediction. It's very cool. If you haven't used Ionic before, I really highly recommend to use it, and you can export it to Android. So you build the mobile application with the language you know. So I already know Angular and TypeScript and JavaScript. So I built the application by using Ionic framework, and I exported to Android and web application. So it's very powerful. All right. You might have 1,000 images. Where did you get that 1,000 images of the birds? So the whole story started that me and Dave wanted to classify Australian native snakes. And I started browsing the web page. After downloading few or 2 images of snakes, I realized that I'm too scared. I couldn't see them yet. No offense to snakes, but they were terrible. Anyway, so I said, all right, so I cannot do it manually. Looking at the image of the scares me. So I wrote an image downloader that I used Bing image search and Google image search to download all of the photos that I want. So I wrote an application, and it's available on GitHub repository, that you can give the CSV file, and it goes through the CSV file and it downloads 30 images for everything. And then the only thing that you need to do is you go to the folders and manually check that it's the correct photos, and then upload it to custom vision APIs. But even if uploading the process of snakes, I realized that no, I'm not enjoying doing it. And me and Dave, we did a quick brainstorm and said, okay, let's classify Australian native animals that it's cute and doesn't kill you. So unfortunately, it rules out kangaroos and koalas, and it left us with birds. And we started classifying the parrots. So you know the story now. So Australia has 8 states. And then if you see that how the different parrots are visible, or you can see that in different states. So Gala, lorikeet, and cockatoos is very common to see. So I wanted to test my model, but I wanted to make sure that people that are using my app, definitely they take a photo of top 3 or top 4 birds. So I want to make sure that my model works perfectly with those 4. And then for the rest, I obviously can be more lenient. So this is my confusion matrix. For those who are not familiar with confusion matrix, it's not very difficult. It's an XY coordinate, true label, predicted label. And what you need to do is, if you have a diagonal, it means that your model is good. If you see that your model is confused, so you can see the dots. So for example, here, it doesn't very good for eastern ground parrots. So you see that it couldn't even recognize it well. So that's my confusion matrix. Now, you all heard about the vibe hot dog or not? Yes?
Yes.
So I thought that it's very good to build a quick classifier for hot dog or sausage dog. Me and David, we upload all of the parrot photos manually. So you can imagine how long will it take to upload all of the 1,000 images to the tool. But I realized that there is an API that all of the APIs that Custom Vision is using is available. So I can literally upload the photos automatically. So we built an application that you can build a hot dog or sausage dog in few minutes. So all I need to do is clone the, so if you want to, so Custom Vision Generator source code is available on GitHub. You can clone it. And all you need to do is you pass your keys. I need to close the other one. And in the tags, come on computer, you can do it. All right. So in the tag, I added hot dog and dash hand, and I hit run and wait for the magic. So what it does in the background, it creates a project in Custom Vision tool for me. It tries to download the images, and it starts adding the tags, and it uploads to the Custom Vision tool. And it trains the model for me. And it tests the model, see that how good the model is. It returns back the confusion matrix for me, so you can see that that's what we want. It's a diagonal. So I had 3 dash hand, and it all predicted as dash hand, which is correct. And I had 3 hot dogs, it's predicted the hot dog. You might say that, oh, as you might all faked it, and you just show some random text for me. So I'm going to show you in the tool. So if I go to my Custom Vision, you can see it's created the model for me. The Custom Vision API, it's very powerful. For building an image classifier, you only need to provide 2 tags and 5 images. What it does in the background, it uses the transfer learning of the other API that you saw earlier, the Vision API. So the model of the Vision API is exactly the same model as we are using for the Custom Vision, but it uses transfer learning to make sure that it classifies your images. So let's test the model and see. So if I go here, let's go with the easy one. Is it a hot dog? Yes, let's see what model says. Yeah, 100%. Seriously, in less than 1 minute, you have a classifier, hot dog or sausage dog. How cool is that? So you can go with the cat or koala or London Bridge or Harbour Bridge, or you can have anything. So is it a sausage dog? Yeah, 38% sure. Definitely not a hot dog. What about this one? Well, we don't know. It's a business decision. It's not hot dog or it's not sausage dog, but you can make a decision. So you can train the model to see that, oh, I want to have it both. So it's definitely a sausage dog and it's a hot dog. So you can train it as you want. So to show you that we have time, or no, we don't have time.
No, we'll probably jump to the next one.
Yeah, okay.
Cool. Everything we've shown so far is all assuming that you've got a connection to the cloud. All of them have been REST calls that go up into Azure, and then we return back the results to you. And that's fine when you've got fast internet connections, but there's many, many scenarios where you want to go and do that AI processing towards the edge, which is why now at Microsoft we talk a lot about the intelligent cloud and the intelligent edge. So we've got a number of ways you can go and run these AI models. Just click. These AI models. So we've got the first one, which is called IoT Edge. This is our service for IoT devices, which are at the edge, being able to push down machine learning models down to these. So down to Raspberry Pis, down to your embedded controllers. So where it's really close to the data, so you're able to process a lot more data locally to it rather than having to stream all of the data up into the cloud. Another one is the custom vision service that Az just showed. We can actually go and export it out to a Core ML or a TensorFlow model so you can run it on mobile phone devices. So again, doing it locally in disconnected states. So we'll get Az to show how to do that.
All right, so I'll quickly show you how you can export the model into TensorFlow. So what you need to do is you need to click on the cog and change the domain to compact and save changes. All right, common internet. And then I go to performance and train. So it trains a new model based on the compact version that you want to use on your phone because probably you don't have internet all the time or you don't want to call the internet. So boom, done. You export it, and you can export it to Core ML or a TensorFlow model. I go with a TensorFlow model. Download. So this is my download. If I copy the model and put it in my TensorFlow sample and paste it here, so do you remember, so which one do you test? So we test with the Dachshund one. So if I say Python.
Test with a hot dog.
All right, test with the hot dog. Python, Claire, come on, Claire, C. If I can type. And one.jpg. So it runs the Python script for me based on the model that I provided. So it reads the label and it classifies the model as a hot dog, 100% positive. So you can see how powerful it is and how quickly you can create a model. You can export it and use it in TensorFlow, or you can use it in Core ML.
Back. I think the batteries on the thing's gone. Okay, so before we wrap up, I just wanted to go over the session goals. What we're trying to show you today is that it's super easy to go and embed these services into your applications without having to know too much about linear regressions and clustering and things like that. You've got services, you call a REST API, and you can use them. Now, one thing we want to close off on was one video. So we'll show one 2-minute video, and then we'll bring up a slide with a link to our, a link to our GitHub repo with links to everything. Now, everything that we showed, we're showing you've got local services that you can run in the cloud, and we wanted to show what could happen if you combine all of these together into a real world application. So if we roll the video.
Sure.
I'm Saqib Sheikh. I lost my sight when I was 7, and shortly after that I went to a school for the blind. And that's where I was introduced to talking computers, and that really opened up a whole new world of opportunities. I joined Microsoft 10 years ago as a software engineer. I love making things which improve people's lives. And one of the things I've always dreamt of since I was at university was this idea of something that could tell you at any moment what's going on around you.
I think it's a man jumping in the air doing a trick on a skateboard.
I teamed up with like-minded engineers to make an app which lets you know who and what is around you. It's based on top of the Microsoft Intelligence APIs, which makes it so much easier to make this kind of thing. The app runs on smartphones, but also on the Pivot Head smart glasses. When you're talking to a bigger group, sometimes you can talk and there's no response, and you think, is everyone listening really well, or are they half asleep? And you never know.
I see two faces, 40-year-old man with a beard looking surprised, 20-year-old woman looking happy.
The app can describe the general age and gender of the people around me and what their emotions are, which is incredible. One of the things that's most useful about the app is the ability to read out text.
Hello, good afternoon. Here's your menu.
Great, thank you. I can use the app on my phone to take a picture of the menu, and it's going to guide me on how to take that correct photo.
Move camera to the bottom right and away from the document.
And then it'll recognize the text. Read me the headings.
I see appetizers, salads, paninis, pizzas, pastas.
Years ago, this was science fiction. I never thought it would be something that you could actually do, but artificial intelligence is improving at an ever faster rate, and I'm really excited to see where we can take this. As engineers, we're always standing on the shoulders of giants, building on top of what went before. And in this case, we've taken years of research from Microsoft Research to pull this off.
I think it's a young girl throwing an orange frisbee in the park.
For me, it's about taking that far-off dream and building it one step at a time. I think this is just the beginning.
So that application is actually available on iPhones, so you can use an iPhone to help you with. Now, we're going to close off there. There's a URL to a GitHub repo which has links to all of the samples and demos that Az was showing off. And with that, we'll be around for a few minutes if you want to ask questions after. Thank you.